Hi, everybody. Julie Williams. Martha Kahn is our guest today. She's a seasoned voiceover talent, been doing it for a long time, very well known within the industry. There's a good chance that she needs no introduction. But she also coaches kids. In fact, I am hiring one of her kids right now, one of the kids that she works with, who they do an incredible job. You should hear the demos that she produces for these kids. In fact, let me play a couple right now.
You know what drives me crazy? The way my sister talks to her dogs. Oh, you're such a good boy. Oh, yes, you are. But hey, dogs are a part of the family. And that's why we feed our animals Nom Nom. Don't feed them anything you wouldn't eat. I don't understand why my grandpa keeps forgetting my name. I really thought he didn't care. Does someone in your family have Alzheimer's? Help kids understand by going to the alz.org link for kids. A lot of toys are just so boring. Ignite your imagination and sense of wonder with Melissa and Doug. With games, puzzles, pretend play, and musical instruments, I have plenty of choices and tons of room to explore. I've discovered the power of play. Have you? Manatees need your voice. Help protect imperiled manatees in their habitat for future generations by going to SaveTheManatees.org. Get that perfect point and stand your mohawk high with Got to Be Glued, gel that makes your hair stand tall every time. Got to Be Glued. I'm styling.
Build 'em, dunk 'em, dance 'em, and play 'em. Redefine the way you play, like never before. Play your way and discover the world of Roblox. There's nothing better than a cold ice cream on a hot day, and there's nothing more fun than Baskin-Robbins bubblegum ice cream. The epitome of fun and flavor. It's a bubble-blowing treat. Chase First Banking is a debit card and app for kids that teaches me good money habits, saving goals, and gives me allowances. With Chase First Banking, I feel really responsible. Being different can be a challenge. Being different can be hard. Don't leave kids out just because they're different. Go to includesomeone.com to find out more. You can make a difference. It's the PBS Kids Video app, the one place to watch your favorite shows wherever and whenever you want. Free for downloads today. Calling all kids! October is Kids Free Month at the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park. So connect with your wild side and explore the wonders of nature at the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park. See you there!
Martha, welcome to the Voiceover Insider podcast. I'm so glad you'll join us.
Thanks, Julie. It's so good to see you.
Well, how did you, I know it's great to see you too. I need to go to San Diego, right?
Yes, we've been talking about that for a while, haven't we?
I know, and February is the time to go, right?
Well, February is a little iffy around here. It's the coldest month in San Diego. So, yeah, you want to come when it's a little bit more predictable weather.
We've got 70 in the San Antonio area today. See, I'm dressed like 70 and it's February 1st. Of course, last year we were buried. It was historic.
It's 60 here today. So
It's actually warmer here than it is in San Diego.
Yes.
Wow. That's wild. So tell me, Martha, how did you get into coaching kids? Did you have your own kids maybe that were getting in the business?
No, what happened was I was coaching adults for a little while, and I got this idea one day. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in theater and a minor in children's theater. And I love working with kids. And I thought, why don't you start coaching kids? You love kids. So I started calling schools in San Diego, and this one school said, I might be interested. So I invited her to one of my classes, and I said, come take a class. It's on me. And the next day she called and she said, can I take the rest of the series? And I said, of course. So we met, and she said, I would love you to start working with my kids. As it happened, all of her kids were working in LA. A lot of them had agents. A lot of them were doing commercials, but they didn't know about voiceover, and they didn't know how to do a voiceover. They all would get their scripts and they would look at the camera and they would get lost in their scripts, and they didn't know the difference between on camera and voiceover. So a niche was born.
They must have been pretty young.
The kids were between 8 and 16.
Wow.
And the very first little girl who called me for an audition from this school was auditioning for the lead role of Masha in Masha and the Bear.
Oh,
And she got a call back.
yay.
And she got the job.
Wow, awesome.
And she's been doing Masha ever since.
And you're a proud mother.
And I was
Even though you're not the mother, you're still a proud mother hen, let's just say. Right?
Absolutely. And she has gone on to do amazing things in voiceover. And then I bit the bullet and I did a demo. And that little girl got signed with Vox. And I thought,
Yes.
maybe I'm doing something right.
Maybe.
And they started sending me a lot of kids. And after maybe 2 or 3 years, we were at the Royal Academy of Performing Arts in San Diego. Brooke and I sat down and we said, you ought to open your own school. And so I was working with Celia Siegel Management at the time, and Celia and I talked, and Celia said, she pushed me out of the nest and said, it's time to go, open your own school. So Kahn Kids Voiceover was born a little over 2 years ago, and it's just taken off. I have kids working for Disney Junior, Apple TV, Netflix. Just kids are working, and their demos are getting them agents, and I'm loving it.
That's so cool. Do you ever have to deal with the stage mom situations?
Sometimes. And well, it's an education. It's all about the kids being happy. They have to love this. And so I have to sometimes, not very often, really. It's a little bit of educating the parents, but most of the parents I deal with are fantastic. They really are.
Well, how do you know if a child, is there like a certain age that a child is really able to make the decision for yourself? Yes, I want to continue. No, I don't. I mean, my son was in voiceover. We did a Pampers commercial. It's the number one on my demo because it's always special to me. Together, we were cast together on a Pampers commercial when he was 6. He sounds like 4, but he was 6. And, but a year or so later, it just became evident he wasn't into this. He liked the fact that, he did a Maxwell House TV commercial, and then we went and stopped at the store and were able to buy him a video game on the way home because he made the money to pay for it.
Right.
We're able to, he loved that. But as far as, the work, he got to the point where he didn't want to take direction. I think that was the start of it. And then it was like he didn't really feel like doing it. He just didn't, he liked the money, but he just didn't feel like doing the work. So what do you find, as far as, to make a short story long, the age or the point at which a child might decide, hey, I love it, I'm not sure about this?
Yeah, I don't think there's an age, Julie. I think there's just a point in their life that if they're not having a good time, if they're not enjoying it, if the parent is having to bribe them, if you do this, I'll buy you a present, or if you do this, you can have candy, then I think it's time to have a heart-to-heart with the parent and say, maybe it's time to take a break, or maybe this isn't the right time for your child. If the child is having fun, if they're loving it, if they're doing it with ease, then it's time to continue. But if they're not having a good time, then life's too short. Then
I saw a child one time when my son was doing it. There was a boy that was about my son's age, and then there was a girl, a sister, who was 3 years older, and she was like so desperate to get every job. I mean, and there are a lot of voiceover people that go through that, but to see a child go through that was heartbreaking. It was like, well, I haven't gotten a job in a while. Can I please, I need to get this job. And obviously she wasn't paying the bills. Her parents were great. They weren't forcing her into it, her or her brother. Her brother was just having a good old time. but she felt desperate. How do you see that often, and how do you deal with that?
With the kids, it's the same as with we adults. It's a lot of competition. So I do a little something with my kids that's a little different. As you know, my name is Martha Kahn, and forever my tagline or my brand is Yes, I Kahn. So with the kids, it's the same thing, and I do a little exercise with them, a little meditation or focus before we do our work, in that we stand there, we close our eyes, we say our name to ourselves 3 times, and then we do a little affirmation of, I got this, or I can do this. And we open our eyes and we say, yes, I can. And it's a mindset. And then we do our best. And then we forget about it, just like we do as an adult. The process is doing the audition. The job is doing the audition, and then we forget about it. And if we get the job, yay, we celebrate. But we celebrate doing the best we can, and then we let it go.
Yeah, that's what I like to tell adults too. It's like, don't get on pay to play and keep looking. Was it listened to yet? Or, how many people listened and how many, all these stats and stuff. So do the audition and go on with your life.
Right.
Bo Weaver told me one time, decades ago, like in the early 80s, he said, you do the job and then you wait for a present from the mailman. You know what I mean? You can't be like, is the check coming? Is the check coming? You just wait for the present from the mailman to come in.
Yeah. And that's how we have to train the kids, that the audition is the job, because they don't know that the job is the job. They have to just believe that doing the best they can is the reward. They can't be driven by money at such a young age, or it will really put a damper in their life.
Yeah, and I always even tell my adults that when you're goal setting, don't set the goal as results oriented. Set it as action oriented. So then when you perform the action, you stick to your diet or you exercise or whatever you're going to do like you're supposed to. If the weight doesn't come off, that's not your problem. See, if you build it, they will come. So you do the action and then don't worry about the results. As long as you do the right actions, in time, it'll come.
Exactly. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
That's right. We're talking to Martha Kahn, superior, fabulous, wonderful, lovely person who everybody in the industry loves, who is now coaching children. And I was blown away. Weren't you, by those demos I just played? I'm sure you were. Anyway, we'll be right back on the Voiceover Insider podcast.
So I would say Julie's approach to coaching is direct and very kind. She's definitely no nonsense. But I would add that she's also never harsh or critical in a disheartening sort of way. She quickly assessed my skill level and asked what I wanted to accomplish by working with her. She starts by teaching her proven techniques, and that builds a solid foundation. Then, she tailors her coaching to build on that foundation. Coaching with Julie gave me the tools I needed to move forward with confidence. And she can do the same for you.
One of the things that Julie conveys right at the beginning, she's incredibly organized. I cannot tell you how many people I have worked with that they are very gifted, but they're not very organized. But organized appeals to me because I come from a medical background. Anyway, one of the things that she emphasized was her euphemism of the girl in the red coat, meaning your essence, your personality, your sound is unique. And that's what will sell in the marketplace as long as you stay true to that. And so that was certainly the case in working with Julie. And I'm hoping that if we have a chance to do this again in 6 months, that I'll just have a whole sheaf of contracts that I'll be able to show you and say, see, it really did work. But I do have faith and I do have confidence. So I'm hopeful.
Julie's coaching has helped me in my regular acting as well as my voice acting. Her techniques helped me prepare for an audition, and I got the part. I was able to quickly look at the script and figure out which words to emphasize and how to add music to my phrasing. And her training has really been a game changer for me.
Hi there, I'm Glenn Moore, and I've been working in voiceover for many, many years. Hey, I just wanted to take a minute to say that if you are looking for a voiceover coach to help you gain a better skill set, maybe you're just getting started in the industry, or maybe you've been at this for a while, I highly recommend Julie Williams as a coach either way. She's a pro. She's been working in VO for many, many years as a talent and coach. And I studied with Julie a few years ago and really learned a lot from her, from the way she helps you approach the copy to marking it up in just the right places and on just the right words for the right emphasis and effect, to just being a good listener and coaching you not only through the mechanics of VO, but also the marketing and understanding the business more to help you deal with the reality of what it takes to succeed. Julie's coached established pros to beginners, and she can help you elevate your skills or train to become ready for that first demo. I wish you the best in your VO career, and if you're looking for a professional VO coach to help you succeed, contact Julie to get started today.
Welcome back to the Voiceover Insider Podcast. I'm Julie Williams, and Martha Kahn is our guest. And we've been talking about coaching children and basically children in the industry. So what if I'm a mom and I want my child in the industry and they're too young to really make a decision? I want to just try them out and see, if they like it. Or is there a way to know if this child is going to be good at it?
As far as auditioning, or can you be a little more specific?
Performing or and even enjoying it, but is going to pick up what you're telling them to do. They're going to follow direction. They're going to be outgoing enough to answer more than yes or no when they're doing an audition. Well, like back when we did auditions in person 30 years ago, you remember those days. We had to go into the studio to do an audition. Is there a way to kind of guess, this child's going to be good at it, this one really isn't?
So I work a little differently. I do a series. When I work with the kids, I start out with doing a series of improv exercises. I will do, when I trained with James Allberger and Penny Abshire here in San Diego, which is where I got the basis of my training before I went on to the big LA coaches, we played a wonderful game called the Or game, where we would give, you would be given a sentence like, wow, it's a sunny day. And we would find out how many different ways we could say that sentence. And the child would start their acting lessons right there. So I teach acting lessons in my classes. And then we would go on to scripts. I would work with them with emotions. I have a set of 38 different emotion cards, and we play with emotions. We do all sorts of improv exercises, and then we move on to scripts. We do commercials, and then we do a series of narration, and then we do a series of animation. So you've got at least 12 to 16 weeks of classes in voiceover before you even decide, do I like this? Do I even want to do this anymore? At that point, besides me, the child and the parent decide, am I even comfortable doing this? At that point, I don't really have to make that decision. The child and the parent pretty much know, is this something I want to do? To pay for a microphone, to pay for a copy stand, pay for a mic stand, to get maybe a vocal booth, to spend money to go any further in voiceover. And it kind of becomes, by osmosis, something that everybody knows if this is something that we want to proceed moving forward. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Does the child have to be old enough to read?
Yes, I would say so. Now, if a child has a parent in voiceover, they are already set up in a studio, they can't read, but the parent is getting auditions, and the child has an instinct because they follow the rhythm. They've been listening to their parent in the booth, and they've got a pretty good idea of what voiceover is, even if they can't read, and the parent can feed that child lines and submit auditions, then that's the exception. And then I can also play the Or game with that child.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say it's a sunny day a different way? If I can take my cards, how would you say that line? Excited. How would you say that line? Worried. And I've got all my little cards, and I can play with a child who can't read, and then I can move them forward little by little so that they're getting acting lessons.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about a child who can't read. But a child who can't read, doesn't have anything in their pocket, then we need to wait a little while.
Yeah, my son was brilliant, and he was reading when he was like 2 and 3, but as far as full reading to where he could take a script, it wasn't quite at that point, you know. And yet I would go over the script with him, and he would just like memorize it instantly.
Kids are amazing that way, aren't they?
The problem is that from, like, for example, when we did the Pampers spot together, we did the audition together with him sitting on my lap in the agent's office, and magically it sounded like a mother and daughter who had the son sitting on her lap, right? Because that's what it was. And the thing is that if I were to tweak a word or not read it exactly as it was written, he would stop and correct me. So there's no ad-libbing going on here. I mean, it is exactly to the word, or he's going to stop and say, no, your line was this, you know.
You bring up a great point because, you know, I've talked to casting directors and agents, and they do love it when the kids ad-lib. They love to see spontaneity. And my biggest job is not to take that away from the kids, not to take away the kid in kids, not to polish them so much that they lose their childish, their innocence or their spontaneity, and make them.
I mean, the line that I sent you to hire a child, it's because I'm producing a medical voiceover demo, and the lady is talking about some suture. They're like Band-Aids that hold the cut closed, right? And so basically, sound effects soccer game, young child, 4 or 5, has a cut. And so we're going to talk about this, right? So what I want is the child to say, you know, owie, but I don't care if they say owie or if they go, ooh, or it hurts, or, you know what I mean? It's like, they've just got to get the message across in like 1 second. That's all they have to do. And I think that ad-libbing is great for something like that. And probably for most everything. I don't do a lot of casting. And when I did, I was casting for the military for about 15 years, and there was no ad-libbing there. but I'd love to hear that in kids.
Yeah. And they're great. They bring it.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
You know, I'm here to train tomorrow's talent today. Kids are amazing, and I just love what I do.
And do you just coach them in person, or you coach remotely as well?
You know, I'm not coaching for the last 2 years. I haven't coached in person. I am just now starting to do the demos. I bought a Studio Bricks booth. A friend of mine was moving to Florida, and he said, hey, you want a Studio Bricks booth? And I was like,
nice.
Can't pass that up. So I just got a nice booth, and we're just starting to do demos in my home studio. But for the last 2 years, everything has been on Zoom.
Wow. And so
it means I can coach kids all over the United States.
All over the world.
All over. I've even had a student in Korea. So It's been wonderful and a lot of fun.
So if one of our listeners, who are mostly voiceover talents, or people just getting in the business, or people who have been in the business, they're coaching or whatever, if one of our professionals wants to get their child into the industry, how can they reach you to get more information?
KahnKidsVoiceover.com.
Kahn.
KAHN. Kahn
Like
Kids.
Star Trek.
That's right. Or they can email me at martha@marthakahn.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Martha.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the VoiceOver Insider Podcast.